The Novinsk region has been shut off from the world for the best part of 20 years. Only now, after almost 2 decades of isolation, has the truth about what happened to the region started to surface. The heroic actions of citizens affected by the crisis are the only reason that we in the outside world even know what's going on in the region. They often risk everything to bring the plight of Tarkov to the masses. These people often paid with their lives. It is on one such occasion that we find a nondescript envelope in a mailbox, another testament to the history of Tarkov. Inside, we find some official-looking documents and a note that simply reads, "The truth." Russian Federation Security Council, Presidential Foreign Affairs Department, Federal Security Service. Report of the 15th of November 2011, number 311, Moscow. From a joint report to the Chairman of the Government of the Russian Federation, compiled at the request of the Foreign Affairs Ministry of the Russian Federation. The investigation was conducted by the Novinsk Regional FSB Department, the Investigation Commission of the State Prosecution of the Russian Federation, and the 4th Counterintelligence Department of the SVR. The goal of the investigation centered around the 4th Department of the SVR, who were tasked with data collection of Terror Group Lab's corporate activities. The FSB conducted an investigation into a series of high-profile assassinations of officials and prominent business figures in the region. The Prosecutor General of the Russian Federation, upon request from the FSB, investigated the activities of the local branch of the UK-based company Terror Group Labs and its Russian subsidiaries. There was heavily suspected corruption of the regional government officials and other public servants. Inside the envelope, there was also a report from Senior Special Communications Officer Colonel A.E. Surinov from October 2011 that detailed exactly how Terror Group came to have such a stranglehold on the Novinsk region. Over the spring of 2009, Terror Group representatives had conducted several negotiations with the Tarkov municipal government and the Novinsk regional government. A month later, the regional economy received $30 million for what was said to be investments aimed at agricultural development. In August 2009, Terror Group corporate subunit Terror Group Labs signed an official associate and investment agreement with the regional government. Under the provisions of this agreement, the regional and municipal governments provided land for housing development purposes and carried out the reluctant sale of Chemical Plant 16, which was confirmed by the official documents. The investigation team suspects that a whole lot more deals were made behind closed doors. Moreover, the officials have successfully concealed the existence of a foreign PMC presence and operation inside the Novinsk region, as well as a large illegal shipment of military hardware, the list of which was also included in the envelope. According to the results of the preliminary investigations conducted independently by the 3 branches of the Russian government, the Terror Group Labs employees have committed a number of serious and grave offences against regional officials and ordinary civilians. Over the course of the investigation, it was possible to consolidate all cases and discover circumstantial evidence implicating Terror Group Labs employees in serious criminal offences, as well as evidence of their operations in restricted territories. Consequently, all operational activities of Terror Group Labs were suspended by the court in an order on the 13th of July 2011. However, the attempt by investigators to access the company's premises was stopped by the company's security forces, comprised of PMC USEC operatives. A complaint was filed by the prosecution that protested unlawful presence and activity of a PMC in the Novinsk territory, as well as interfering with official state investigation under formal court orders. However, the complaint was laughed off by the corporate representatives, who referred to the deal that they had made with the regional government and stated that the conditions of the contract are not subject to the jurisdiction of the country of residence and are governed by international law. Following these statements, the prosecution has started a criminal case against the regional government for signing an invariably unlawful contract with Terror Group Labs. On the 5th of August 2011, the Commercial Court issued an order for the arrest of all Russian-based properties of the local branch of Terror Group Labs. At 10 AM on the 6th of August, a group of investigators from the Joint Prosecution and FSB teams arrived at the central office of the company to carry out an arrest and seizure of all operational documents. The investigators were denied entrance. Consequently, they called for support from the OMON, or the Mobile Special Police Unit, and 2 FSB rapid response teams. After an attempt to secure forceful entry into the central office building, law enforcement operatives exchanged fire with the corporate security forces using automatic weapons and frag grenades. The firefight went on for over 45 minutes, and after the dust had settled, law enforcement agencies suffered casualties of 18 investigators and 21 operatives. According to statements from witnesses, 2 vehicles with prosecution employees inside were destroyed by grenade launcher from the upper stories of the building. The Terror Group Labs casualties were not determined. The building was destroyed at approximately 13:42 and by initial estimation as a result of a remote detonation. Because of the ensuing fire, any evidence of Terror Group Labs activities was erased, along with the building itself. At 14:31, Bay 5 of the cargo port saw the departure of the Ocean Slogger, a dry cargo freighter owned by the Tanzanian company Lindi Kavinji, alleged subsidiary of Terror Group through a number of proxies in a number of different countries. According to the investigation committee, the freighter might have extracted key employees of Terror Group Labs, as well as the bulk of the documents and the bodies of the deceased PMC operatives. At 16:43, Novinsk Naval Base dispatched the Federal Border Guard Boat 318, named Flyer, under the command of Lieutenant Captain A.I. Kozlov, to intercept the freighter. They made contact at 17:21 as the Ocean Slogger was nearing the naval border of the Russian Federation. It ignored all orders to stop. Lieutenant Captain Kozlov ordered the crew to fire a warning shot just off the freighter's bow, followed by main cannon fire aimed directly at the ship's engine room. At this point, second in command, Lieutenant D.A. Frolov, who tracked the course of the freighter over satellite navigation, notified the commander that the ship had left Russian territorial waters. In compliance with international maritime law, the crew of the Russian vessel gave up pursuit. According to the SVR 2nd Division, on the 9th of August 2011, the Ocean Slogger arrived at the Danish port of Køge and was docked for repairs. At the dock, according to different statements, around 50 to 80 people came ashore besides the ship's crew. They were met by tinted glass Mercedes minibuses, and by unconfirmed reports, all passengers left Denmark the same day through various routes. After 3 days of dock repairs, the freighter left the port for Husavik in Iceland, but never made it to the destination. According to the Icelandic Coast Guard, the ship sent a distress call from the region to the northwest of the Faroe Islands at 23:17 on the 15th of August. The call abruptly cut off at 23:21. No crew members or remains of the ship were ever found. On effective court orders of the arrest issued for Terror Group Labs property, all known assets in the Tarkov and Novinsk region were seized, starting at midnight on the 8th of August by internal troops of the Russian Federation. All key company employees discovered by investigators were apprehended but released the same day into their own custody on restricted travel conditions. Of 652 registered staff, excluding family members, only 211 employees were detained. The location of the remaining employees was undetermined. Later, over the course of the investigation, it was discovered that the majority of the company employees were hiding at unregistered locations, built and equipped by Terror Group Labs on a number of former military properties in the region. Security services for employees and property, as well as numerous illegal actions including witness elimination, threats to investigators, and various covert operations in the region were carried out by USEC units employed by Terror Group Labs. On the 15th of August, lawyers for Terror Group Labs and its parent company Terror Group started international lawsuits for damage to property, health and welfare of the employees, as well as violations of the company's rights, and demanded that the company's assets be released. On the 16th of August, the UN International Partnership Committee received a notification of protest from Terror Group Labs lawyers against the Russian Federation government in connection with the bloody incident, demanding to nullify the arrests and allow the remaining company staff to leave the Russian Federation. The authorised Russian representative in the UN responded with a counter-notice at the emergency session of the committee on the 18th of August. Over the course of the inquiry, the UN committee demanded that the Russian government, before a decision was made, was to pull the armed forces out of the civilian-occupied areas and provide freedom of travel to Terror Group staff. On the 17th of August, the state prosecution filed a counter-action claiming a violation of local and state laws, denial of cooperation with investigative bodies, physical assault, and the murder of civil servants. On the 21st of August, the UN Security Council sanctioned a detachment of peacekeeping troops to the Norvinsk region to, quote, prevent the possible bloodshed initiated by either side or by third-party forces, as well as the enforcement of security for foreign citizens, including the Terror Group Labs employees and members of the International Investigation Party, end quote. On the 22nd of August, the Russian government announced that internal troops will turn control of the region over to the UN force, but only in the presence of the International Committee representatives and state prosecution investigators. On the 28th of August, in the vicinity of the port cargo terminal, Russian interior troops exchanged fire with UN forces. The encounter was provoked by an unidentified armed third party. Both sides suffered casualties, and the situation escalated to the edge. On the insistence of the UN Security Council, the interior troops were pulled back to their initial positions, and the regional UN peacekeeping force was reinforced. Wanting a quick solution to the political standoff, and with the intention to prevent global consequences, the Russian government issued a secret order to establish the Cape Verde-registered search and extraction company B.E.A.R. The company was comprised of Reserve Special Forces veterans from the armed forces of Russia and its allies. Consequently, the Norvinsk branch of the non-governmental organisation For the Clean Land made a contract with B.E.A.R that required the company operatives to use all possible methods, including lethal force, to breach the secret Terror Group Labs location and uncover the documentary or material evidence of the company's unlawful and damaging activities against the civilian population of the region and of the Russian Federation in general. Officially, Russian authorities have nothing to do with the company or its agreement with the non-governmental organisation. All possible conflicts emerging in the Norvinsk region that involve UN peacekeepers or Terror Group Lab staff, even if provoked by the B.E.A.R operatives, are to be interpreted by the Foreign Affairs Ministry as the inability of international investigators and peacekeepers to conduct a fair investigation and provide security to the civilian populace. It was to be, essentially, a black operation. The B.E.A.R PMC was deployed to carry out their operation on the 24th of October 2011. Signed, Senior Special Communications Officer Colonel A.E. Surinov. So finally, we learned the truth about the incident. The terror group was being investigated by the Russian authorities before things escalated. The company's shady dealings had been almost exposed, and they would rather risk open conflict with an entire country than let the truth about their actions come to light. 20 years later, and the conflict still rages on. Do the fighters in Tarkov still know what they're fighting for?